Hello again. My name is the Snoring Walrus, and welcome to Vintage Keys Studio. In the room today, we have a bright carpet, and we have 3 keyboards set out for a bit of a history lecture, tiny one, and our main subject of today's talk is the fantabulous Osmose by the company Expressive E. It's quite a funny sort of a keyboard, really. The sort of keyboard that I had always wanted for years and years, and seems to do most things I want it to do. Anyway, let's start with a little bit of history. In around 1928, the inventor Maurice Martenot, who I believe was a cellist, designed the Ondes Martenot, which was a instrument that you could either play with a thingy on a string like this, and it produces sounds like this, and also, I'm not sure if the original models had it, but later models also had a keyboard on, which he designed that you could play like that, but it wiggled, and it actually allowed you to do vibrato on it as well. So let's have a look. I should say this isn't actually an Ondes Martenot. This is a Ondomo, which I've already done a video on a few whiles ago. So it's like a modern recreation of the Ondes Martenot, but it's pretty good, pretty accurate. So as you can see, it's just a spring-mounted keyboard that is wired up through, I think, variable capacitance, I think it is, that creates that undulation in sound when you wiggle it. So that's that one, okay? Now if we move over here to around 1941, 42, Georges Genet, I think his name is, or was, designed the Ondioline. Another Frenchman. That was a Frenchman, and this is a Frenchman. Again, that one over there, the Ondes Martenot, is it's a monophonic instrument, so you can only play one note at a time. So is this. This is a monophonic instrument. This has also got the wiggly keyboard design on it. I don't know if it's exactly the same as with the Ondes Martenot one, because I've never managed to find a decent set of drawings of one, and I've never had a proper go on one. If anyone happens to have one in their attic and would like to bring it along for me to have a look at, then please do. You never know, you might have it next to like a picnic hamper or something. So this one here, similarly, get rid of some of that. Okay, right, so yeah, similar idea on here. I know definitely on this one how it works, because I've fixed it all, well, as much as I possibly can. So this one has got a variable capacitor, like a plate on the end of it, and when you move the keyboard backwards and forwards, it varies the distance between the 2 plates of the capacitor, and that is sort of added on to the overall tuning of the keyboard. So it's like doing this with a wiggly. Well, this isn't a capacitor, but if this was a capacitor, it'd be like doing that. Actually, let's do it on higher so you can hear it. Like that, but that's actually not a capacitor. But anyway, similar idea. That's that with tune now. Now, the other interesting thing about this design is that it actually added a progressive attack controller, which the Ondes Martenot keyboardy version, and there are a few other different keyboards that use the same sort of thing as well, which I can't remember, but look them up. List them below and we can all talk about them and argue about them. Yeah, this one uses progressive attack, which in an ideal world, when this model was about 1956, So what's that? That's like 68 years old. And although I have gone through and tried to mend it as much as possible, I did that before I had the fairly recently anglicised English translation of the manual. So I was working with a French manual, which I found very difficult. And then good old Wally over at Forgotten Futures sent me a lovely manual, all done out in English. And it was just after I'd finished fixing this one. So one of these days I'm going to go through the manual all again in English, and I'll make it English. I don't want to make it English, it's got to be French. It's a French thing. So this thing has the progressive attack function, which is basically a small wedge of mineral, it says in the manual, but it actually was asbestos. There isn't actually asbestos in this because I did remove it and put some not particularly good bits of plasticky stuff in it. I can't remember what I used now. Was it mylar? Whatever it was. I used something that I found that seemed to work a little bit, but it wasn't as good as the asbestos version. And you basically squeeze the note on this one down. You can't really hear much of a change of the sound, but I'll try and do it as better as I can. Can you hear that? No, got stuck. Let's try it with that. Yeah, you can sort of hear it sort of going. But the idea is in the original one that it was kind of to give it like a kind of a progressive attack to the note, so it wasn't just like a ding. So it's kind of. So you can hear it there, it just about worked there, I think. Constant repair and restoration on these things. If I had another one that was perfect, it would be a lot easier to mend, because then I could check it and see what it's supposed to be. But anyway, that works well enough just for this demonstration. So, we now have a wiggly keyboard mechanism with a squishy bit in it that makes it sort of slightly progressively attack the note, so you get this sort of like slight raise in volume. Okay, so fast forward to 2019, the company Expressive E okay, hang on, right. Yes, Expressive E, French company, they designed the Osmose, which is just here. And let me just get my facts straight here. It's a Midi controller keyboard, and it uses Midi polyphonic expression, or MPE. And the idea is that it's a wiggly keyboard, and it's also, well, in fact, it's not a wiggly keyboard, it's wiggly notes. So every single note on here can wiggle left and right. But as well as that, it can also give you a progressive attack as well. So let's switch it on. I should mention as well that this thing, the reason why I like this thing so much is that it's got an onboard synth as well. So it's not just a controller keyboard that you have to plug into the computer. You can actually use it as a standalone synth. A testament to that is the fact that I've had it now for about two and a half weeks, and I haven't even plugged it into the computer yet. So I've just been using it as a thing. So let's switch it on and see what happens. Well, that's looking good. There we go, just wait for it to load up. I like that, it's just a bit of loading up. Now we have this rather impressive and very stylish menu here. And if I just play a note or two, you can see and that is all completely from me playing the note and increasing the pitch of the note by pressing down on the note itself. So it's all controlled from the note, with a bit of wiggle as well. And I should say that the synthesizer part of this is taken from the very nice Harken Continuum keyboard that you may or may not have heard of. It's like a kind of like a great big, well, actually they do a small one, but they're like sort of like a felt kind of surface. It's not like a keyboard. It's just like a felt surface with black and red sort of keys drawn on it, and then you basically sort of move your hands up and down, and it senses where your fingers are, and you can do all these kind of like sort of polyphonic bends and slides and gradual stuff, and that also has a thing where you can move up the keyboard as well, and it will change the nature of the sound. You can assign it all sorts of different things. So that's a sort of slightly different to this, but it's got the same sounds in. This keyboard basically it acts as a normal MIDI keyboard. You can play wiggle on the vibrato and change how much wiggle, and also this will enable you to just sync into the note, but it's all polyphonic, and sometimes as well, depending on how it's set up, you can get pitch bends between notes, which I'll show you in a second. But anyway, so here we got I'm not a big fan of these those sorts of noises, so I'm going to get rid of that on here. I think it's that one, layer speed. I've just pressed the synth button here, so that's got rid of it. If you can hear it's come back again there. So if I get rid of that completely, so that's kind of like a nice sort of analog synth sound. It's got a pitch bender control here, which is a sprung loaded thing. It's not like a semicircle one. And then you've got this is another sort of like a MIDI controller fader, which you can assign to various different things. On here, it's obviously it's changing the layer speed, the extra layer of sound. So anyway, let's put it on to something that I can sort of show you a bit more about how the keyboard is working, because this is lovely as it is. It doesn't really show you the full extent of what it can do. So let's just have a look on here. So if we go back to the presets, let's have a look here. So we've got that. I'll put it on that one. Actually, no, that one. So we've got a nice sort of acoustic guitar type sound, and you can do like strums on it, plucky things. There's pedal functions on this as well, so you can add two different pedals doing different things. So you can also control other aspects of the performance as you play. But this is quite nice because you've either got the plucky sound. But you can also sync into it, so bend the notes and even move between notes like that, like a sort of a portamento or a glide, but it's polyphonic. Rather good. Takes a bit of practice playing this thing when it's depending on. Let's look in here. So I've made some sounds myself on here. So let's just have a look at that. Put that on there. sometimes it kind of makes her sound a bit like a cow mooing. Like that, because it's basically trying to go between. Because it's got this sort of like glide between two notes set up as well. So sometimes you have to be a bit careful about that. You can change all the bending between notes actually on here. And there's also hang on, where is it? Is it that one? No, it's playing. So I'm playing. Right. So here we got. If you go onto the playing switch here, there, and then you can move up. So that's press guide. So when I play like a B to a C and hold it, like play it legato, it slides down. But when you move it to none, so you can actually play it without that slidey thing. You can still get some vibrato wiggle, but it's not like trying to kind of fight against you playing. So with this thing. There's also a arpeggiator as well in this one. So yes, hours of fun with the arpeggiator. I'm not an arpeggiator kind of guy, I have to say. But anyway, but yeah, the press guide's good, and I think you can actually adjust it as well. Okay, let's go back to the off thing. If I go back to the presets one, yeah, that one there. Takes a bit of time to get used to the way it's laid out, but after a while it's quite easy. Let's try something that is a monophonic one. Some of the basses are good for that. Let's go to bass. There we go. So that is all done from just touching the keyboard itself. There's nothing else going on. Let's try something that's got so that's a monophonic one. I mean, again, I think you can change the way that it behaves in here, but you've got an octave switches here as well. Rather lovely. What else do we have? I really like the way that you can just sort of sink into the notes on this thing and just. do this. Very expressive E. If I'm saying that wrong, expressive E, can you please tell me? There's millions and millions, well, there's 500 presets on this that are all from the Harken audio company who make the Harken Continuum. As I say, you don't have to use it with these. You can kind of switch it up here. If you press this M button, it changes it to an external Midi device. So if you're and you can change the way that it responds as well. You've got the MPE type of stuff. You've got a classic keyboard, which I presume is just like a normal thing, poly aftertouch and multi-channel. So I haven't really looked at this thing in terms of using it with another MIDI device or with a computer yet. I've just been messing around with it as a fun keyboard. This thing here called an anthophiler organ. To me, it feels like a sort of a novochordy type sound. You can change things like the body of the sound here, so let's just try that. You can get rid of that modulation-y thing, so it's just like a pure tone. So that's adding extra harmonics on top of the notes. So it's almost sounded like a dreadful bagpipe thing. You can get rid of all the delay on this particular sound. And then what else is there on that one? Oh, delay tone. So you get like a very sort of like dark and moody sound underneath it. And it sort of, I think, gradually gets more mellow. And then, hang on, what have we got here? Yeah, then the global effects, you can have all sorts of different, there's all sorts of different reverbs on it as well, and echoes and stuff. So if you go onto that one. Darkness. Yeah, the delay amount now is on 127, and it would just carry on feeding back on itself. Here we go. Yeah, feeds back on itself like you've got the tape turned right up. Anyway, I'll turn that off because it'll be all day. You can change the sensitivity of the notes here. Let's just put it on a. You can have the bending, so it actually goes up to 96, I think that probably means steps, does it? Or right down to a quarter of a step, or half, or 2/3. But that's amazing that you can have every single note on here. Can independently wiggle, but through I don't know how many steps is 96. But anyway, that's like a good few octaves per note. Let's put it back on something so we can hear it again. I've lost the sound because I was messing about with everything. when you first have a go on this, the temptation is to kind of, because you're sort of looking at that so much, I tend to play it like this, and I accidentally find myself playing notes that are like, and bending the top one because I'm leaning this way. But once you get used to it, it doesn't do that. Anyway, that's just a very kind of brief sort of first impression of this thing, and I'm hoping to make a couple more videos in the next week or 2 or 3. Hopefully going to try and integrate this and use it in a band situation, and also do one where I'm kind of multi-tracking with it as well, just for fun. I'm basically going to try and delay plugging it into a computer as much as possible, and just try and completely get to know the whole thing. I might try and get it to control another synth I have. I don't have many MIDI synths here, actually, because they're all quite old ones, but I'm just going to try and see what I can do with it. And if I get very clever at some point, I might try and MIDI up one of my old organs or synths or something and see what we can do there as well. That might be quite interesting. Probably be a catastrophic failure, but who knows? Anyway, I hope you've enjoyed this foray into the future and the past. From me, Steve, Christie, aka the Snoring Walrus, it's good night.